Hey, good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. There's a pretty good case to be made that the American empire is in steep decline, fixing to fail. And in this video, I want to talk about that a little bit, and more importantly, what you can do, things you should consider perhaps to set you and yours up for the aftermath, for what's coming. So, with that, cue the intro. Intro? Intro? We ain't got no intro. Sir John Glubb, G-L-U-B-B. You should Google him. When you do, you will find, I don't know, 4 or 5 levels down, a piece he wrote called The Fate of Empires. It's a PDF. The one I found is a PDF, and it's about 26 pages long, and it's a great read. You should read it. John Glubb was born in the 1800s. He led the Transjordan Army, kind of Lawrence of Arabia kind of guy. And he probably wrote a lot of things, but the one thing that I've read now twice, and I'm going to read it again, is his Fate of Empires, where he has the premise that empires last about 250 to 300 years. And he goes over how they rise to power, how they peak, and then how they decline, and what are signs at each of those stages. And while he does not talk about the United States directly, matter of fact, I think he wrote this piece in 1976. He makes a really good case for all his different points without mentioning the U.S. overly much, I don't think, if at all. And when you look at the factors that he says point that an empire is in decline, in other words, fixing to fail, last stages, final gasps, we meet all of those criteria. All of those criteria are met with regards to the United States. And so it's got me thinking, you know, nobody stays in power forever. Nobody stays at the top forever. When you're at the top, there's always people looking to knock you off. And his thesis is it's all self-inflicted anyway. It's an interesting piece. You should read it. So I got to thinking, as I am wont to do, what if the American empire does disappear? You know, I liked the fact that I grew up in a superpower. I went to bed at night not worrying about nukes hitting me. I went to bed at night not worrying about tanks driving through my hometown, enemy tanks driving through my hometown. It's good to be king. Pull! And so I enjoyed that. But if that's not the case, if we lose that position and somebody else takes that over, what's that going to look like? You know, and then how is that going to affect me? And I'm getting long in the tooth. You know, I don't have that much longer on this mortal coil anyway. But, you know, I've got grandchildren now. How's that going to affect them? And what are things that we should all consider? And so let's get into that a little bit. Number one. Let's say, oh, and the other thing is these empires, they don't typically collapse overnight. But if you look at the indicators for collapse, we've been in this spiral for a while now. And I'm not going to get into them. That's not what this video is about. Go read the piece. But let's say America is no more. We're no longer a superpower. And in fact, we have been destroyed by one means or another, economic, social, civil war, invading armies or whatever. But the order that we have now, ooh, look at that, it's an Illuminati symbol. The order, that's a hierarchy. The order that we have now is no more. Life is different is so much more different than what you and I have become accustomed to and grown up with. And so it doesn't matter if there's Chinese, you know, an invading Chinese army that's here, or if it's a huge civil war, or if it's just like, you know, 1 second after EMP and there is no federal government. Let me say this right up front. Right now, the United States, in my opinion, is the best country in the world, and it's the best country to live in. I could live almost anywhere. I think I've said that before. I choose to live here. Why? Because I'm an American, by God. So this isn't anti-American. This is just looking at what I call, you know, reality. This and actually it's a slice of a potential reality is what it is. So I try and look at it. If this is the case, how do we deal with it? And so if law and order, and our federal government spends a great deal of money, time, sweat, effort for continuity of government, right? They don't want to get out of power. Who can blame them? Who in power does want to say, okay, yeah, we'll just roll over and play dead? So this isn't about that, but this is assuming that that continuity of government push has failed or is failing, right? So the United States as we know it is no more. What to do? Well, one thing is, think about the dinosaurs, you know? It's like the dinosaurs are like our whole, I know, right? Let's think about the common American perception of dinosaurs. How about that? Keep me out of trouble. You know, the climate changes and the dinosaurs all die, basically. I think that's basically what they said, right? Well, if all the plants are dying that the dinosaurs eat, just work with me on this. This isn't, I'm not a, what are dinosaur people called? Paleontologists or something? I don't know. I'm not one of those people. But if the plants are dying and there's nothing else for them to eat, it does no good for the dinosaurs to sit around in a powwow and say, we need to figure out how to make these plants grow more so we can eat more. The plants aren't coming back. OODA loop, orient to what is actually happening here. And so, you know, that's not going to do you any good. And my point with that is, if the system is collapsing, is on the verge of total collapse, it doesn't do any good to say, well, we need to bring back a constitutional republic. We don't have a constitutional republic now. Not in the way the founders intended it. Not at all. That is a dream that is spun, that social studies teachers put out, and we buy onto that. We do not have a constitutional republic. We are very close almost to some kind of elitist oligarchy kind of thing, pulling the strings. You have the semblance of choice and vote, but it's still there a little bit, right? Trump was elected against all odds, right? You know, so there's still some, but man, there are big powers at play that are controlling huge chunks of this thing, and they'd like to control more. And so wishing something to be back the way it was when the whole force of nature is going this way, it's futility, man. It's futile to say, this is where I plant my flag, this and no more, and we're going to bring it back the way it was, and we're going to elect representatives and have a constitutional Congress, or... It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If this system is doomed to fail, it's going to fail. And you're not going to be able to go back to some romantic little vision of what you think was before and make that work. You have to deal with the here and now and move forward with it. And so the one thing people can do, I highly recommend it, is say, you know, we're bringing back the old ways. Those old ways aren't coming back. They're not. They're just not coming back. And so, but you could do that. I just think you would die frustrated, you know. Let's say the Chinese successfully invade America, and I'm just picking them. It could be the Chinese and the Russians, you know, I don't know, whatever. And I think the odds of that are very slim. I'm just using it as a scenario. And they've taken DC and they're moving on Denver, and, you know, chaos. And then the Chinese brigade parachutes into your county. And here comes some Chinese dudes with their Chinese guns, and you make contact with them. They make contact with you. Hi. Ni hao ma. Right, you know, whatever. What do? Do you hide in the ditch and shoot at them? Because this is America, man. Okay, well, dude, if they've taken over 2/3 of America already, you just gonna die out of bullets or something, right? Well, that's okay with me because that's what I want. Okay, cool. Go on with your bad self. But fighting a hopeless battle is not something I consider cool. You know, I'm a special forces guy. I'm trained in guerrilla warfare, hit and run. If we can't win the battle, we're not even going to engage in it, right? We're not going to fight a battle we cannot win. All that stuff is for the movies and, you know, glory and fly the flag and charge at the head into the guns. That's stupid, man. That's dumb. But you could do that. The other option is throw yourself into the new. Learn Chinese. I know about 5 words. Ni hao, ma, xie xie. Maybe that's about it. I don't know how many more I know. I know how to write 1, 2, and 3. But, you know, maybe you embrace the new way. This, when it comes to embracing the new way, do you think that the average, who are our enemies right now? Islam, okay, that's a totally different can of worms. Let's say Russia and China. Do you think that Russian and Chinese people are really that different from you? Like, do you think that they hate their kids and hate their parents and hate their hometown, and they don't have any of that nostalgia that we have? I think they do. I think they love their families, they love their friends, they laugh, they play, they do those things. So where are your lines that you will not accept? I mean, in real life, like for me, I'll just tell you, one of my lines is, let me practice my religion the way I want to. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't hurt the government. Let me worship the way I want to worship. If you start pushing on me there too hard, we've got God, we've got government. Who's more important, right? And so that's something I would take a gun off a Chinese guy and go to war with if they said, no, you can't worship that way. They're probably more prone to say you can't worship that way, right? They seem to be going after Christian churches and things like that in China. At least that's what we hear. Russia, I think Russia, if you look at Russia, they have a lot of Muslims in Russia that they're really not oppressing. They have a lot of Christians now that they're not oppressing. I think Putin is Eastern Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, right? He does the things. I think they would probably leave you alone. So do svidaniya, or learn some Russian. I know people are like, how can you say that? You served in the military for 20 years and now you're saying just give it up to the enemy? I'm saying when it's a lost cause, when they've already won, what are your choices? I'm talking about when they've already won. I'm not talking about when the first guys are landing on the beach. When they're landing on the beach trying to attack your country, man, fight back, right? I'm talking about when they've already basically won. What do? You can join the other side. You're a traitor. A traitor to what? Because what you think you're a traitor to no longer exists and it will never exist again. Now here's the problem. You don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have a Bible. You don't know, I don't know which way this thing's going to turn out. Again, in this scenario I'm doing, it'd make a pretty good movie. They called it Red Dawn. In this scenario, let's say the evil Chinese are coming in and they're taking over the country and they've got 2/3 of the country. So you throw your weight in with the Chinese and learn how to speak Chinese and sell stuff to the Chinese, set up a little shop supplying Chinese soldiers or whatever. Assuming they're not evil demons that are coming in and raping women and lining people up against walls and killing them. I'm talking about, fairly normal humans here. So it looks like they're going to win, so you throw yourself over there. Then what happens if they don't win and the U.S. makes a comeback? Dude, you're toast. You chose the wrong side. They're going to hang you high, buddy, because then it is treason, right? And so, man, you got to be careful. That's why I said, I don't know if I said it in a sermon or I said it in a recent video. I think it was a sermon. Civil wars and revolutions, war's bad as it is. Civil wars and revolutions are horrible. They're horrible because it pits friends against friends, neighbors against neighbors, family against family. And one side is going to lose. And when they lose, they're going to lose big, right? And so it's kind of like you're betting everything you have on the outcome there. So that's another thing. Wish for the old. I think that's a dumb move. Throw yourself in with the potential new, but you got to do that early enough that they actually accept you. If you wait till the very last minute, they're going to treat you as one of the people they fought, and you're going to their version of Gitmo, right? And if you do it early enough and then you pick the wrong side, you're toast. Okay, so what's another thing? Stay neutral. Just stay neutral. I'm not really supporting either side. Huge problem with that. As things come to a culmination, you can't stay neutral. Both sides are going to be aiming at you. First, they'll be nice, play nice, trying to get you hearts and minds, win you to their side. But if they can't win you to their side with bribery, or whatever else, then they're going to fight you. And they'll both do it because you're either with us or you're against us. And so you're going to have to make a decision there. Again, you're going to have to pick a side in that case, with us or against us. There's another option. Run away, run away. You could run away. You could go somewhere else. Go to Costa Rica. Go to the southern tip of Argentina. Go to, wherever, man. I don't know. I have considered this option. I have considered if the United States starts falling apart, and it's still kind of a half plan there. We decided as a family we're going to go renew our passports because they're all expired. But we're thought, you know, we might want to go somewhere, Uruguay or something like that. Here's the reality though, for me, I feel like I'm called to be here in the Ozarks, and I think if something happens to the United States where we lose our dominance in the world, and when I say lose, I mean like boom, off the top rope, lose, I don't know that you could pick a place right now that would be safe. You know, so at least around here, I know the people and the ways and I speak the language. Send me somewhere else, I'm not nearly as good at those things. But running away is an option. So wishing for the old, throwing yourself in with the new, staying neutral, or running away. Those are your options. Now, and they don't get a flippant response. I mean, if you give it a flippant response, that's probably the results you'll get if it happens. You know, you really have to think this through. And then for each course of action, because I just gave you 5 potential courses of action to deal with the collapse of empire, you know, the collapse of society, the collapse of government, continuity of government didn't work. It's just chaos out there, man, in one form or another. So those are your 5 options. Then I think you need to look at which ones do I think are the most likely. Let's take 2 off the table, whatever they are for you. All right, what do I have to do to set myself up for ultimate success in these 2 or 3 possible reactions, courses of action that I have? What are the things I have to do now to set myself up for success? And I'll just give you an example. And I'll try and go down each one, even though I think some of them are dumb ideas. We want to go back to the way things were. We want to bring back the constitutional republic like it was in the early 1800s, right? Okay, well then what would you do if that was your plan? I guess you would start organizing now, meeting people who felt the same way, maybe really steeping yourself in running a government and you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, everything's going to fall apart, so we'll set up a new national government. Who am I going to pick to be my president? Who are my key leaders going to be? Who's this? You could kind of start working on that and networking so that you could set that up. That's an option, right? If you think that you're going to throw yourself in with the enemy, but the people who are coming against us, first of all, we got to figure out who they're going to be. But then, you know, learning the language would probably go a long way towards helping you out. Now, I didn't hit this hard enough before. Hey, there are certain things you can't do no matter what. Like, there is no way on Yah's green earth that I am ever going to convert to Islam. Ain't happening, right? That's just, you might as well shoot me in the street now, but I'm not going to let you. I'm going to spite you from somewhere else, right? But I ain't turning myself over into that. So, you know, you have to have your own personal moral lines in the sand, this far and no further. You know, 1 inch back and we're fighting full out. And so there's a concept. There's, I guess, another one, right? Just fight your way to freedom. There's what is that, 6? Try. If it's a big enough force to bring down the empire, you know, I don't know what you and your little band of militia are going to do about that, quite frankly. But you could learn the language and things like that, and you could try to set yourself up in a position that is non-threatening to both sides, and maybe helpful, you know, and then just pick one of the sides and hope you're right. What was the other one? Run away? Yeah, get your passports, buy your land now. Go buy, you know, a hectare of land with a little house on it out in the countryside of whatever country you chose. Start learning their language, make trips there, make friends, learn the cultural mores and ways and things like that. You could do that, you know, a real bug out location. You got to leave early enough though. And so, you know, what was that? You get my point though, right? You start doing things. Now, when I said neutral, there is another option within the neutrality, and it's one that I've been considering, but I'm almost ready to throw it away because it feels like fantasy to me, although it would make a really good novel, right? And that's this: whatever forces came to bear, let's say, you know, in the country, and I'm here in my little slice of heaven in the Ozarks, there's chaos going on in Denver, the East Coast is a nuclear wasteland, Portland's on fire, dun 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 dun, dun, you know, all that stuff's going on. Teotihuacan Man. What's going to go on out here? Probably nothing. Probably won't be any Chinese. Probably won't be any government, U.S. government forces. Probably won't be any, you know, aliens or whatever. There's nothing out here. Well, if that's the case, and the old ways aren't coming back, and the new ways aren't going to reach you for a while because you're in a very unimportant place, you might be able to make the best with what you got. Heard that before? Do the best with what you got where you're at. You might be able to do that. And so to that end, that's the one I've been kind of leaning towards the most. It's like, how do I make this? And when I say this, I think big. Delusions of grandeur, man. How do we make this good for everybody? Because you see, I have no desire to be a king that rules with an iron fist and puts my slaves in subjection to me. It's not my style. I would like everyone to live happy, healthy, you know, productive, fulfilling lives. You know, nirvana, man. I would like that. And so to that end, what do I need to do? If I think that this general large area, I'm not talking about Shofar Mountain, I'm talking out there, you know, everything falls apart, we're kind of left alone. What do? I think some of the things you do is you meet the movers and shakers now. You know, you're not going to rise from your basement computer room to be leader of the free world as you know it in your area. You know, it's just not going to happen. But you could probably work with the people who are already leaders. You know, mayors and government, you know, county commissioners and things like that. They got there because they know people know them, and, you know, people vote for them to do things. They're still going to be powerful people in the event. Maybe work with some of them. Maybe run for mayor yourself, you know, if you think you have it in you. I've said this before too, and I wish I knew who said it. You can judge the greatness of a man by the size of the circle he draws around himself. You know, everybody wants to draw a circle around their personal self. Whoop, this is me. I want to protect me. It's all about me. I'll kill my wife to be able to eat that last morsel of rice, right? That's a horrible person. Most people, I think, draw their circle around their family in their house. What do you call it? The nuclear family? I think that's where most people, if they were honest, I think that's where they draw it. And then they probably start going out from there to very good friends and family that they don't hate. And then I think that's where it ends for most people. I don't think most people, just from the comments I've been getting for 10 or 15 years, I don't think most people think anything about their neighborhood except negative things. Oh, all these people suck, man. So I don't think they're drawing circles around that. But you could. You could figure out how to make it good for everybody. But just picture life. Because again, these things don't happen overnight and they don't end overnight. And so if some horrible thing happens, man, you could be stuck in this situation for the next 50 years. Well, what are you going to do about it? If you think about it now, if you have plans now, here comes my INTJ coming out. If you have steps that you've already considered and rejected and accepted and supported now, it'll put you in a better position then. I think once you start going down this path, if you do, I know it's probably a little bit way too much in the weeds for many people. I get that. It's me. But if you do start going down this mental path, working out these problems, I think you're going to find out you need people. Any solution in that, you're going to need people. And so the first thing and that's in almost any of those cases, almost. You're going to have to start getting along with people. You know, if you can't get along with anybody, maybe the problem isn't them, maybe it's you. Right? We were just talking about this the other day, I think, in our assembly. Doesn't matter where we were talking about it, but people who constantly have problems with people. I hate everybody in this city. I hate everybody in my neighborhood. I want to move to the Ozarks. If you hate everybody, there's probably a reason that you don't get along with them, and it might not just be them. I watched this guy, I think it's called Retire Cheap Asia. His name's JC. Shoots a lot of videos from Thailand, and he talks about how expats flee overseas to live a different life because their life at home was so horrible, and then they find out that their life overseas is horrible too, because what was horrible about their life was actually them. There was a time a couple years ago when my wife and I thought we were going to have to move to Florida to take care of her mom, East Coast Florida, long term. And the thought of that just, but you know, duty, right? And so I started thinking, okay, well, what am I gonna do? And this is all about how you fit into different situations, because East Coast, super populated Florida, very different from here, right? And I mean, you know, neighbors all around you, gated community, dress right dress houses all look the same. I mean, I couldn't just come out and pee off my back porch. I can't come out the front door and shoot my shotgun just for the heck of it. You know, a SWAT team will show up. So life is, I can't probably walk around there with just, you know, my Glock on all the time. Maybe you can, doesn't matter. Life would be different. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess I'll just start running to the beach every day, running on the beach for a little bit, running home, having a late breakfast, and then I'll turn the one bedroom into an office and I'll become an author, you know, and I'll just write all day, every day instead of homesteading. But it was a way of adapting. It was a way of totally changing my focus and going after this in my mind. Praise the Father, we never had to do that. And, you know, we're here. But could you do that? Could you totally change your focus and do something else? If your answer is yes, then I ask you another question, and then I'm going to end this because it's getting long. If you're like, oh yeah, I could totally change my focus and do that, man, and it starts sounding like exciting and like you want to do that, and then you'd rather do that than what you're doing now, then my question is, why don't you go do that? Why don't you go do that now? You can change your stars. You can do what you want to do, as long as it's legal and moral. Right? And I guess if it's immoral, you can still do it. You're just going to pay a penalty for that. But as long as it's legal, you can do it. And so hoping, you know, I just saw, I was on two chats last night, just very briefly. I have horrible service here and they kept fading in and out and fading in and out. One was with Step One Survival, and the other one was with The Revolting Man. And I don't remember which one it was. But there were people, and now that I think about it, it could have been a website I was on. Getting old. But there was a place where people were saying, man, I would love to live off-grid. I think it was one of those chats. I would just so much love to live off-grid. I can't wait. Could have been Permies.com too. I just went there for the first time the other day. Anyway, there was something I was on where people were like, I would just love to live off-grid. Man, that would be great. I would love to live off-grid. My immediate question was, why the heck aren't you living off-grid? That's easy. It's a lot easier to go from on-grid to off-grid than it is the other way around. You know, you need more assets to go from off-grid to on-grid than the other way around. Go get you a Home Depot cabin, put it on a chunk of land, and live there. You know, you could do that. I guess my point is, think about what you want, and then go for it. Life's short. You only get one chance at this world at getting through it. You have some important decisions to make, and when it's all done and you're looking back on it, I think many of the things that we thought were important, we're going to look back and go, man, that wasn't important at all. You know, these things were important. I wish I'd spent more effort on those things. Think about your future. Try to position yourself, place yourself in the best position to deal with it, and then go for it. And I guess one final thing, man, we should just sit down and have coffee together, and then you could talk too. I could shut up and sip coffee, and then I could talk. You cannot put all your eggs in the disaster basket. If you do that, you could be sorely disappointed when you're 90 years old and have 4,000 years of food and no way to pay the rent, right? You've got to plan on multiple axes. You've got to plan for everything to basically stay normal, and you to live longer than you thought you were. How are you going to do that, right? Normal life. And then you've got to plan, I think, for chaos. All right, my phone is doing funny things. Hopefully that didn't affect you. It said low battery power. Y'all have a good day. Think about these things. I'm interested in your comments. I get ideas from your comments to continue talking about. I know I owe you guys a live chat. We got one of those coming up. I've got the apprentices showing up today and tomorrow. Be a little sketchy for the next week. But after that, we're back on it. Y'all take care. Think about things. Send some comments. Oh, and if you have something you want to say to me, don't send me a message. I just found my message folder was full of messages. I never go there. You have to send me an email, vikingservices@hotmail.com. Put your Patreon level first word in the title, then what you want, and then get to your point in the email. If it's this long, flowery thing, I don't read them. I don't have time. All right. Take care. I'll see you out there.